What's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. Hope you've had an awesome day. So we're gonna start off with 1 minute of cardio of your choice now. We're just gonna go nice and simple, running high knees for 30 seconds, and then running butt kicks for the other 30 seconds. Once we clear that, we've got a 4-minute section where we're gonna go 20 mountain climbers. We then move into 10 upright rows, into 10 strict presses, and then into 10 air squats. And that'll just be on repeat for those 4 minutes. You good to go, Em?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10, so 1 minute of cardio of your choice, guys. You can do what we're doing, or you can mix in your own things too. We're going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So if you're doing what we're doing, guys, this is a really good one if you're a bit pushed for space, a bit pushed for equipment, that sort of thing. It's nice and straightforward. Main things we're thinking about is staying nice and light on the balls of the feet, and we're trying to get the knees up around hip height. So if you can give yourself a marker to have like a standard movement with this, it's getting those knees up so the thighs kind of parallel to the ground at the top. In about 10 seconds time, we're gonna switch to those butt kicks. So trying to get your heel to hit your hands behind your butt there. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So you notice as she moves through this, she's keeping the thighs pretty much vertical, right? So it's all about that lower leg coming up behind versus the knee kind of raising out the front and the hip flexors getting overly involved with that. It's more about getting those hamstrings on. So about 10 more seconds and then we'll roll into this 4-minute AMRAP. So it's gonna start off with 20 mountain climbers. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Okay, so we're in a push-up position, running the legs underneath the body. So we're trying to keep that torso kind of as still as we can. Nice active shoulders. And we want to see that knee come up to about kind of chest or sternum height there. Move from the 20 mountain climbers to the 10 upright rows. Now, Em's going with a single dumbbell. If you have a kettlebell or a backpack or 2 dumbbells, just all the same motion with this. Nice high elbows, body stays completely still. And just thinking about keeping the shoulder blades wound back together just to enable good posture there. And once that's done, we're going to move to the strict press. So she's going hands to the outside of the dumbbell. Again, lower body stays locked in place like the upright row. There's no momentum from the lower body. We just want to see the elbows kind of just slightly forward of the dumbbell in the bottom there, so making that front rack position and then popping that head through as she hits the lockout. All right, so moving to the air squats now. So stance is probably a little wider than what we had for the upright row and the strict press. That was probably about a hip's width. This is now a shoulder width with the toes starting to fan out a little bit. So creating a little bit more ease through the hips to create depth. You see those knees are going to kind of point outwards as she comes down and looking for the hips to go below the height of the knee. All right, so back to the mountain climbers again. So as I said, we just keep cycling that sequence for these 4 minutes. I want to see the other leg, the one that's extended, go all the way out. So nice straight body position, trying to let yourself get into a kind of a jackknife hip position there. And with this row, we kind of have like 2 points or 2 markers of this. So one is arms at full extension at the bottom, and then collarbones is our top marker there. So looking for that collarbone mark to get to the top. Elbows are going to stay above the wrists at the peak of the movement. Okay, last 2 minutes. Okay, and back to the air squats. So if you have trouble with flexibility or mobility as you move through these squats, guys, you feel like maybe your heels are lifting or your knees want to collapse in, slow it down a little bit, maybe do it to a marker like a chair, or if you happen to have like a med ball or something, use something just to keep a control on it, make sure we prioritize everything being in the right position. The depth is very important, but we want to make sure we're not sacrificing other things just to get there. Okay, about to roll into the final minute. So with the press, guys, even though this is shoulders doing the work, we're going to think about trunk really supporting it. So I think this is actually an ab movement as well as a shoulder movement. So keeping those ribs down, staying tight through there, so that we don't get leaned back or kind of drifting those hips forward as we press. Okay, last 15 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and done. All right, that is the warm-up done, guys. Take some recovery time. We're gonna check out build next. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna check out the build workout now. So how this one is gonna run is we have a 9-minute time frame to get through 3 sets of the following. So first one, we're gonna open up with 8 reps on right and left with a suitcase split squat. So we're gonna grab dumbbells by our sides in a suitcase position, go to a lunge setup with the feet, and we're gonna fix the feet there. So this is the difference between a split squat and a lunge, is we're not gonna move the feet around. So she's gonna go her 8 reps on one side. When she hits 8, then she'll change, and she'll do 8 reps on the other side. Now the second move we're gonna do is a little bit more complex, and that is a devil's press. So we're gonna basically go through a dumbbell burpee. From there we go into a ground to overhead, and we're gonna do 8 reps with that one. So looking at 3 sets in 9 minutes, it's about 3 minutes per round. So if you can get the work done in maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that'll earn you a decent break in between rounds, and then we're good to go. Ready to start?
Yep.
All right, so we're starting in 10. We've got the 8 reps each side on the suitcase split squat. And going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So key things we want to think about this from a safety point of view, guys, is 1, we want the posture to be nice and upright. So from side on here, I can see there's this nice straight line from Emily's head through her shoulders, hips, and then down to that knee that's contacting on the ground. So that way she's not going to be tempted into kind of leaning forward and loading that low back. She's going to stay nice and stacked. The other thing is the front leg shin is nice and vertical, so she's not getting that knee to drive way over the top of the toe and losing the heel contact, overloading that knee. So those are the split squats. We're gonna move to the devil's press now. So this is a fair bit more complicated. So if you're new to this movement, guys, take your time with it. Work your way through it. You're obviously gonna have plenty of time to work through this. So we want to think about getting chest and body fully flat to the ground at the bottom of the movement. And then as we come up, we're going to get up to a full lockout at the top. So those are kind of the top and bottom markers we want to see. From a safety point of view, we want to make sure that as we go from the burpee to that ground to overhead, we're going to engage our posture, right? So think about extending that spinal position, making sure we get a nice flat back as we pull them off the ground. So same rules as when we deadlift or we do cleans or snatches. We're thinking about making sure the back is not rounded over as we pull from the ground. All right. So minute 17 there, so we've got a decent break here. On your rest, guys, feel free to do a little bit of stretching, a little bit of moving around, review your technique as well. So if you think about, is there anything I could do there a little bit smoother? Was anything feeling a little bit clunky? Is the weight the right option that I have? If you have the ability to change dumbbells or kettlebells or loaded backpack, you might be able to go more in or out of that. You can kind of play around with that sort of thing. But otherwise, just chilling, get some water in, recharging for the next round. We've got 2 more sets to get through. Okay, so 30 seconds till we hit the next round. All right, 10 seconds, so we'll get ourselves ready to go on the suitcase split squat. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So again, we want to get that nice long spacing with the stance there, so we're nice and squared up at the bottom of it. From side on, we should see nice sort of 90-degree bends at both knees. You'll notice that Em's making an effort to keep those dumbbells stuck by her side rather than sort of swaying around. It's obviously less of an issue when we're doing a split squat because we're fixed in the one position. It's more something we see with lunges, but it can still happen here where the body gets kind of dragged forward and pulled out of position if those dumbbells start moving around. So strong lats, strong shoulders, just keeping those dumbbells by the hips and just looking for that light touch of the knee on the ground. Good idea with that knee touching the ground, guys. If you're on hard ground, maybe you're doing this outside on some concrete, maybe you're on floor tiles or floorboards, it's a bit unforgiving on the knee. Yoga mat, towel, cushion, anything like that, just to create a little bit of softness there. It's going to be the same deal for this as well. If you are kind of dropping the legs to the ground through this burpee motion, because it's not a strict push-up, we want to have a little bit of cushioning, a little bit of softness under there, just so we can move through it safely without scuffing the knees up. And we can see that moment that Em props up out of the burpee, that she's making sure that back gets nice and straight. She's engaging her core, and then she can really utilize that hip extension, so hamstrings, glutes, a little bit of low back as well, to get that momentum. And the dumbbells can go either in a snatch version, like a muscle snatch like Em's doing there. You can also do a clean and press, which we might have a look at in the next round. That's a little bit more broken up if the dumbbells are starting to feel a little bit heavier. So nice consistent time there. We're roughly around the same time as the first round. So we will rest now until the 6-minute marker, and then we'll hit that third and final round. Okay, so 1 more minute, then we'll hit this last round. So from working from home, guys, if you have just the one option with the dumbbells and they're feeling a little bit easy at this stage, what you can do is slow the tempo down a little bit. So where Emily is taking sort of maybe 2 or 3 seconds per rep on those split squats, you could slow it right down to 5 seconds per rep. Same goes with the devil's press. You move a little slower through the bottom of that burpee and then spend a little bit more time locked out at the top. It's always going to make for a much stronger lockout overhead if you spent more time there. So there's always the option for that to make it harder. And we're going to get this next round underway in about 15 seconds. So we'll be starting off with the 8 and 8 suitcase split squat, and then we're going to look at that devil's press with the clean and press version this time. All right, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we talked earlier about the vertical shin on that front leg there. She's keeping that heel nice and loaded, okay? And that's making sure that she doesn't pitch all of her weight up to the toes. She's allowing herself to get that really good engagement of the rear chain by digging that heel in. The back foot obviously is going to allow that heel to lift up. We need that to happen. But important as well that we keep that back foot nice and sort of in a nice neutral position as far as like lining up to the front. You find that foot wants to kind of splay out to the side. It's going to kind of crank that hip on a weird angle. So try to get everything nice and lined up as if your feet are on train tracks. So we can see she's working with that much slower tempo, which I'm sure she's thrilled about. It's going to be burning those legs up, but this is the option, guys. If you've got stuck with some light weights, it's just the weights that you have at home, okay? Make it harder for yourself. Don't allow yourself to get away with an easy workout. So moving to the devil's press now, we're going to have a look at the clean and press version. So she's going to pull from the ground to shoulders first, and then dip and drive them to overhead. So this as opposed to the kind of muscle snatch version she went with before, which was just a straight line to the top. This can be a good plan to go with if the dumbbells are starting to feel really, really heavy, you're struggling to get them there in one go. You can kind of have that just half a second to reload at the shoulders, get that posture nice and upright, and then dip and drive. So we can always use the legs and the hips to create a little bit more power to get them there. Nice work, Em. All right, so we've got a little bit of time left on the clock there, guys. So if you are still going, that's cool. Work your way through it. Got just over a minute, and then we'll move into the next section after that. So 60 more seconds on the clock, guys. Should hopefully be at least on those devil's presses, starting to move towards the end of them. Okay, last 30 seconds on the clock, guys. Okay, final 10 seconds. Hopefully you are finishing up those last reps. 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, guys, that is the build workout done. Have a bit of a chill. We're going to finish off with a little bit of stretching next. Alrighty, guys, so now that all the hard work's done, we're going to cool things down with a little bit of mobility work. So first drill we're going to do is a seated twist. So what Em's going to do is going to go one leg straight, one leg bent, and she's going to bring her opposite arm across. So we'll do this for 45 seconds on each side. Now, what she's doing here is she's using her arms, so both right and left arms, to anchor herself in and turn to look behind, right? So we want to think about looking back. We also want to think about posturing up. It's very easy with this one to kind of just slouch and dump into that low back. I want you to actually get tall and deliberately try and push that stretch into that left hip and that left glute. Now, it's really important with this one that you get the arms and legs right, guys. Sometimes this one's easy to end up the wrong way and put the same side arm across the leg. You won't feel anything there. So she's got left leg and right arm that has to have that crossover. Three, two, one, and switching out. So as she anchors in, guys, and she kind of rotates around, what she's also thinking about is kind of almost hugging that leg in towards her body. So she's tightening up the stretch even more. And she can also think about kind of tensioning on and off, breathing through the stretch, trying to get a little bit deeper each time. This is just going to be a really nice one after all the pulling, deadlifting, cleans, or whatever we've been doing lately, running, stuff like that. All that's going to be going through that hip. So it's just going to loosen that up a little bit. Ten more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. So that's our first drill. Second one, what we're gonna do is an alternating calf stretch. So with this one, we're gonna go into kind of like a down dog position. And just for the next minute, we're going to switch the heels back and forth, nice and slow, getting into those calves, in those Achilles. So this can be good if you've done a lot of running, skipping, any of that sort of stuff lately where we're jumping and loading those calves and just going back and forth, trying to push that heel flat to the ground. So depending on your current mobility level, that will kind of decide where those hands are going to be set up and what's going to be most comfortable. But you just want to make sure you can get that heel down. For some people, if you're really tight, it might be worth putting your hands up onto, say, a chair or a couch and pushing back that way. But if you can go for the ground, go for that. So you notice with this, she's kind of spending sort of 3 to 5 seconds on each leg there, just hanging out at the bottom. She's not just rapid firing through that. Three, 2, 1, and done. All right, so those are your 2 drills, guys. If you have time, go through that 3 or 4 times, loosen the body up. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. That's been your Move Plus workout.